Welcome to Corrective Consciousness, episode 277, the podcast where we explore the inanity of pop culture. I'm your host, vysethebold, and this is
Lotus Prince.
And another wonderful show here. We are continuing our coverage of Tim Burton's Batman by not covering any more Tim Burton's Batman, because there isn't any more. But I guess we should preface the fact that we are doing Joel Schumacher's Batman now, but it is still technically considered part of the same continuity. So as Tim Burton's Batman and Batman Returns. So I guess, how should we title this?
I don't know. I mean,
it should be Tim Burton's Joel Schumacher's Batman.
I mean, whatever. But I mean, this was one of the things that raised some contention right off the get-go, though, because Joel Schumacher was clearly doing his own thing. He had a vibe. Yeah. He was doing a throwback to the 60s, but it was the movie that came after Batman Returns, and it's a sequel, so people were expecting more Tim Burton style, and boy, did they not get that.
Yeah, so we should preface the fact that there was a lot of changes between the two movies. We left off basically with Batman the Animated Series, and I would say that that's basically the canonical end of like Tim Burton, the Tim Burton-esque Batman stuff.
Yeah, well, and this is something I hadn't even thought of, but apparently the Penguin's design was based on the Tim Burton movie version.
Yeah, in fact, there are certain eras of Batman comics that you can read, and the most common interpretation of the Penguin is he's actually one of Batman's like most normal villains. Like he's just a guy. He's a fat gangster that likes birds and umbrellas, and that's it. Like, and wears a tuxedo. He's a gangster. That is the only thing about him. But then during that era, you start to see some of the Tim Burton isms kind of creep into certain things. So you'll have like the fin hands, in the cartoon version,
and the the almost mullet, like long shaggy hair in the back.
Yeah, and there's also a they also did
the 60s version kind of did this, but the long beak nose.
Yeah.
Like, 60s didn't push it as hard, but yeah.
But they straight up make him deformed in the comics at this time as well. They kind of do like a retconning of to go along with the movies, but they have since gone back on that, and he's basically just a gangster with a big nose, and likes birds and umbrellas, which I kind of like that better, honestly, just because it's more quaint.
Yeah, there was one thing I actually got a kick out of I think it was Arkham City, where you're doing...
Yeah, he's pretty normal in that one,
doing Penguin stuff. But what's kind of funny is that he has like a British accent in those games. And there's one part, and I think it might have been in City, where people were talking about him, and they're like, I think he just puts on an accent to try to sound classy. He doesn't actually sound British.
Right. That sounds right with the character. So I kind of like that it's gone back to basics with him. With Mr. Freeze, he's changed forever for the good, for the better. But like the Penguin doesn't need to be complicated. He's a gangster.
Yeah, Burgess Meredith is all you need.
He's also not insane. Like a lot of his villains have like really bad mental issues.
Yeah, that's true. This guy is just like a bank robber.
Yeah,
with a lot of goons.
You have Scarecrow and Joker, who are obviously have mental problems, and Harley Quinn. And
well, actually, speaking of which, again, this is going back to the Arkham games, so take the continuity with a grain of salt. But if you listen to the Arkham Asylum therapists' discussions on the various villains, Scarecrow they found particularly disturbing because they don't think he's crazy. He's just straight up evil.
Yeah. Well, it depends on what version of these characters you're talking about. But you also have Mad Hatter, who has
when you call yourself mad.
Yeah, dissociative disorder. You also have Two-Face, who has a split personality. Have all these characters that that basically just have really bad mental issues. And
Batman beats the shit out of them.
He does do that, doesn't he? Without a in more recent comics, he at least tries to reason with them first.
Well, it's funny because as far
it's like
back
let's go back to Arkham. Come on.
well, that's the thing. As far back as the animated series, Batman like had a degree of sympathy for these characters.
Yeah.
And then like later adaptations, it's like, well, they're villains. Let's just beat the shit out of them.
Yeah. So like he basically has sympathy for everybody but the Joker. Like the Joker, he just punches him in the face. But
the Joker, well, I mean, that's playing into the Joker's hands, but still, the Joker really makes you want to do it.
Yeah. His other villains, I mean, like he has maniacal villains. I mean, he has Bane, who's like a genius. So like,
yeah, Bane's pretty terrifying.
You have the Riddler,
Not
who's
quite
also
like Schumacher Bane.
You have the Riddler, who's also a genius, but also has like a very crippling like inferiority.
Yeah, the
complex.
Riddler is incredibly neurotic and has an inferior. Yeah, I remember. Like, I think there was, it might have been in the comics somewhere where he tried just winning against Batman. What if I just don't stupidly give him hints to stop me? And it just drove himself crazy. He's like, I gotta give him hints. Like, it's gotta be a riddle.
Well, I just reread Hush again, which is one of the landmark like Batman stories.
Yeah, I've actually
back
read
in
that
the
one. That
early
one's
2000s.
crazy. Yeah,
it's really good, and it's kind of the sequel to like The Long Halloween and Dark Victory because it's by the same author, Jeff Loeb. And it also has a similar structure because all three of those are do a run through of the gallery, like of the Rogues Gallery. There's a part that everybody plays, like Catwoman's in there, Ivy's in there, Killer Croc's in there, all everybody shows up for a moment and does something. But the Riddler ends up being like a key figure in that one, and he actually like deduces that Bruce Wayne is Batman.
Took him long enough.
Finally, but he's not the first villain to do so. Hugo Strange did that in the 40s.
Yeah, well, they called that out in Arkham City, I think.
Yeah,
which blew the Riddler away. He was like, "What?"
But the Riddler does know Batman's identity, and Batman goes. He simply just says this. And Lotus, you could even answer this. What time is it when an elephant sits on your fence?
I think you might have told me this before. Time to get a new fence.
Yes. So and Riddler goes, what an easy riddle. Everybody knows that. It's useless. It's stupid. Why would you even ask that? And then Batman goes, okay, well, you know the answer to one of the best riddles ever. And so I know you're never going to tell it to anybody. The answer to anybody. And the Riddler just goes,
yeah.
Huh.
Yeah. Well, they actually did that in that just I forgot what it was called. It was like the cartoon. It might have been like Justice League Action or something, where it has a bunch of really amusing shorts. Like, I think I've told you about the one where Mark Hamill voices every single role in the short. But there was one where I think it was Toyman breaks into the Teen Titans tower, and he's like, I'm going to use my toys to blow things up, and he starts taking Cyborg's stuff. Cyborg's like a nerd with a bunch of toys complete in box, and he's like, I'm going to use my army.
Teen Titans Go. It's probably Teen Titans Go.
No, it was not Teen Titans Go. This was a short in one of the Justice League things. But he's like, I'm going to start attacking the tower, and you're going to take all the hits, because I know you're going to defend your toys. And he's like, damn it. But then he goes, and now we'll prepare for the ultimate attack of all. I've set bombs in this room, and it'll blow up the entire tower. And Cyborg's like, no, you won't. There is no way you're going to ruin all these collector's items. And he's like, oh, you're right. And they just start playing with their toys.
I just love the Riddler. It just goes, looks for a comeback in this scene, and he's just like,
yeah. Speaking of which, by the way, in Arkham City, Hugo Strange is like moping to himself about like, is what I'm doing really right? What kind of fucked up person am I? And the Riddler makes it clear that he's got listening devices in Strange's room, and he's like, I know things about you. If you try finding my devices, you'll probably fail because I'm a genius. And Hugo's like, oh, you're such a genius. I guess that means you also know Batman's real identity, huh? And Riddler's like, what? And Hugo Strange is like, I have a riddle for you. How are you similar to a blank dictionary? Do you know this one?
No, I don't know that one.
Both of you are at a loss for words. It's freaking badass.
That's awesome. But yeah, getting to Joel Schumacher here. They recast Batman to be a different handsome gentleman. So this time Val Kilmer. And I don't. He might be the least notable Batman. Like live action Batman. Like
Val Kilmer.
People talk about him the least.
Yeah, it's funny because I was going to mention George Clooney, but that was more notable because of how off it was.
He has notoriety in the
he has notoriety for it, but Val Kilmer just kind of like he's not bad, but he just kind of exists.
Yeah, exactly.
Which is funny, by the way, because if you see like any other movie with Val Kilmer in it, he's usually one of the best parts.
Yeah, I mean he's kind of gotten a a cult of personality in his characters as of late. A lot of his earlier stuff, he was just kind of the handsome guy, but then like later on, he's kind of
Tombstone though.
Yeah, a Tombstone's like one of the best.
Like
movies
Doc
ever.
Holliday,
Yeah.
like he's not the main character, but he steals that movie. Yeah.
No, like I was thinking, what are you referring to? And I was like, oh, Tombstone. Tombstone's probably his best role.
Yeah, like that. This isn't even one of his best scenes, but I just enjoy the line where he's like pissed drunk, and some guy gets ready to pick a fight with him, and the guy's like, you can't stop me. You can't even see straight. And he's like, that's okay. That's why I got 2 guns, one for each of you. Like, nice.
I just love that he calls everybody Huckleberry. I just love that. Yeah, it seems
that Mr.
Really
Ringo is an educated man. Now I really hate him.
But yeah, then so the movie starts off with the bad guy being Tommy Lee Jones as Harvey Dent / Two-Face, and they do kind of a minor recap of his origin.
Yeah, for like a second. It's like what's funny is I don't think this was intentional, but I know the whole movie is supposed to be an homage to 60s Batman, but I don't think this was intentional. But it reminded me of 60s Batman, where they're like, oh yeah, Two-Face, he was a guy who had something fucked up happen to his face, and now he's got 2 personalities. Like that's it. Like they just exposit it real quick. But I remember in episode 1 of 60s Batman, Bruce Wayne in his manner mentions like, my own parents were slain by dastardly criminals, which is just what a funny thing to say, like by dastardly criminals. But that's it. There's his origin. Got it. His parents were killed. He's Batman now. Got it.
I think Batman Forever though, it did do some interesting things. They took a character from the animated series to talk about Two-Face here.
Yeah, considering how much they lean into 60s Batman, that was an interesting choice.
They had Rupert Thorne be the one who threw the acid on him during court. Rupert Thorne is a Batman in the animated series like gangster villain, and he did that in the animated series, but in the comic it was Maroni. It was a gangster named Maroni, and that was explained in Long Halloween.
Speaking of which, that was one thing that was kind of cute that I didn't even realize at first because I didn't know the specifics of the origin story. But there was one thing that they did that was amusing in The Dark Knight, the Nolan movie.
Oh, sure.
Was that famous court scene. You want hostile? I'll show you hostile. But instead of throwing acid in his face right there, the guy pulls a gun that doesn't work, and Harvey Dent punches him out, and you're like, oh, so he's not gonna become Two-Face this movie.
Yeah.
Or if he does, it'll be a way that I have no idea what it is anymore. It was just like
it was a subversion.
Yeah, it was like Sam Raimi's Spider-Man, where the Green Goblin has like he throws Mary Jane off of a bridge, and you're like, oh, they're doing Gwen Stacy with Mary Jane. I guess Mary Jane's gonna die, but then Spider-Man saves Mary Jane. So you're like, so we did Gwen Stacy, but she didn't die. I guess it was an homage. But then Gwen Stacy shows up in the 3rd movie, and you're like, well, now I just have no idea what's going to happen. They're not going to do that twice.
But this is also the second recasting decision.
Yeah, the girlfriends.
Because Well, no, the Billy D. Williams was Harvey Dent.
Oh, excuse me. I'm still thinking.
in
I'm
these
sorry. I'm
movies.
still thinking Nolan Batman. The girlfriend's actor changed.
Yeah. I'm just getting
Yeah,
back
to
to Batman
Schumacher.
Forever
Yeah.
here. So yeah, that was an interesting change. I guess he didn't want to work with him, or Tommy Lee. More likely, Tommy Lee Jones probably just did, or Billy D. Williams probably didn't want to do it, or I don't know. Who the hell knows?
I have no idea.
But, yeah.
At the same
they
time, though,
completely
Commissioner
recast him.
Gordon, Harvey Dent, it was a thoroughly campy role. To be honest, I'm surprised Tommy Lee Jones even did it.
Yeah, it's probably his campiest role.
He's literally jumping up and down and clapping his hands. Like, woohoo! Like, I've said this on repeated consciousness casts before, but he's doing Frank Gorshin's Riddler, except he's not the Riddler. And then we have the Riddler in the movie, who is Jim Carrey, which is a brilliant choice, but Jim Carrey is not doing Frank Gorshin either. He's doing himself, which still works very well. But then you have Frank Gorshin's Riddler next to him, who is not telling riddles, and you're like, what is happening?
Also, a thing you'll really notice about this movie is that how goddamn 90s it is. It is the most 90s thing in the world.
A lot of neon.
A lot of neon, yeah. I was just gonna say the design has gone from like the gothic like Art Deco aesthetic.
It's
that
still somewhat kind of like they got the big statues.
Yeah,
and everything,
but then they added like that black light neon aesthetic
that's
from the 90s.
Thing. The statues are still there, but it doesn't have the grungy like noir feel to it.
It's just a lot of neon green in this, slime green.
Even that one group of thugs Robin beats up just to like vent. Like they're like
that's the
weird
blacklight
neon
stuff I'm
thugs.
about.
Yeah,
and then they kind of make a quick appearance in the next movie. But it's really kind of funny. But yeah, like getting ahead of ourselves. This is the movie and the only live action Batman movie with a Robin in it. Other than the sequel.
Well, Batman and Robin. But that's true. That's true. Well, nah, that's stupid. No, we'll keep this.
I mean, okay.
I was going to say The Dark Knight Rises, but that's not really true.
Oh,
that's really,
for half a second.
That's a reach. Yeah, forget it. That's why it's stupid. Forget it.
Yeah, it's fan service at best. But I mean, the only other argument you can make is the Jason Todd supposedly existed in the Batfleck universe, like the Ben Affleck.
That I wouldn't have known.
Because he has like Jason Todd's like uniform, from his death.
Oh, you're
like,
okay. I do remember that from previews. Okay, all right, yeah, implying stuff has happened. Yeah,
correct.
That's why Batman's so fucked up.
Jared Leto's Joker supposedly killed Robin.
Yeah, that's actually very clever too. Like we'll incorporate Robin, but like just allude to it. Like if you know, you know. You're like I actually think that's pretty clever.
Yeah, and we don't need to explain it. It's there.
And you don't want to see it.
No.
I've seen it depicted a couple times. It's not fun either time.
He beats him to death with a crowbar. It's not cool. But anyway, and they voted for it to happen, which is even more interesting.
Yeah, Jason Todd was so unlikable. Like I wasn't there for this. I wasn't reading the Batman comics,
No.
but the
This was
audience
in the
wanted
mid-eighties.
him. Yeah, the DC was like, "Do you want him to live?" People phoned in. They were like, "Nope."
they called. They paid to tell people.
Yeah, call the hotline.
It was like a 1-900 number. Yeah, it was a 1-900 number. Tim Drake is a much more liked character.
Jason Todd was very hot-headed.
Yeah, I mean the current Robin I think is Damian. I think. I think Tim Drake is Red Robin now. But
okay,
it's hard to keep track.
Yum.
But there have been 5 Robins. So
are we including like the girl in The Dark Knight Returns?
No, mainstream continuity.
Okay.
So you have Dick Grayson, who's the most famous Robin.
Yeah.
And then you have Jason Todd, who is also famous, but not for that. Just for being the one that died. And then you have Tim Drake, who was Robin probably the longest, other than Dick Grayson.
Yeah, Dick Grayson is what, Nightwing now?
Correct. He's been Nightwing since the 70s.
Okay, and then we got Damian Wayne.
And then, well, before Damian Wayne, there was Stephanie, what's her name, who became Spoiler later.
I was just gonna say, I know who she is, but was she Robin?
She was Robin for, like, only a few months.
Okay.
She was, like, 6 months, and then became Spoiler. And then Tim
she
Drake
got killed
returned.
even arguably more brutally than Robin. Well, the way she was killed was a gunshot, but, like, she arguably had a worse torture scene than Jason Todd did.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And then you have Damian Wayne, who also died at some point.
There comes a point where maybe you just don't want to be Robin.
Yeah. Well, nothing really bad has happened to Tim Drake. Tim Drake's the one who's gotten away.
Yeah, but like he's the exception to the rule that proves it. Like that's I'm not gonna play those odds.
Tim Drake likes being Robin and like enjoys it. Like he doesn't have any resentment towards Batman like, you know, like Dick Grayson does, and Tim Drake just goes around and his deal is he wants to be the greatest detective alive.
Well, you got some real competition there, buddy.
But I mean, he's in good hands. He doesn't want to be like, you know, like Batman's like sidekick. He just wants to be
he plans to kill Batman then, because Batman's the world's greatest detective. Ever think about that? Tim Drake's the secret villain this whole time.
No, Tim Drake's awesome.
Batman's like, oh great, you want to be the world's greatest detective alive? Let's give me some stiff competition. He's like, yeah, I guess.
So anyway, getting back to Batman Forever. So the Robin is played by Chris O'Donnell, who's a lot older than you think a Robin would be.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, it's often kind of problematic how young Robin is, where he's getting thrust into these horrific
situations. But it makes more fucking sense, because, like, Batman is supposed to, like, be adopting Dick Grayson.
Yeah, no, I do get
kid.
that, but that's also, that whole concept is fucked up. So, like, I don't mind Chris O'Donnell being old enough to fucking drive.
No, but, like, it doesn't make sense that he's adopting a 25-year-old. No, yeah,
that is very bizarre. Well, to be fair, though, the movie worked around it, where he's like, I'm living here now. What are you gonna do about it, bitch? And it's like, that, like, he didn't adopt him. He kind of, like, forced his way in. I will take that angle.
And he washes his clothes in a very
cool way. Alfred was like, what? Why didn't I do that all the time?
But, yeah, they
like, did you know I'm an acrobat?
I was gonna say they truncate the origin story of Robin by saying that Two-Face is the one that killed his parents.
They justify Robin's existence in the movie with these two villains. Yeah,
but that makes sense, because like Tony Zuko's a fucking gangster, and you know Two-Face at his heart is a fucking gangster. So,
yeah, that's his whole thing. And I also, by the way, I like that this wasn't anything like, this is how I'll stop Batman. Like, I mean, he did want Batman to call out his identity, but the fact that he raided the circus was just kind of incidental. I'm robbing the place, and also I'll blow it up if Batman doesn't shout out something in the next few minutes. Like, it just happens to be that he was there that day. Like, that's a shame. Like, it's just like Batman's own parents. Like, nobody had this epic plot that plays into a story later. It's just like, this was some major bad luck. So
Batman, Robin's original origin is actually pretty cool in that, like, the reason why he becomes Robin is because he specifically wants to exact revenge on Tony Zuko.
And that was a lot of what Batman Forever focused on too with Robin. He's like, fuck Two-Face, I want to literally kill Two-Face.
Yeah. So a lot of what Batman does is, you know, like, killing him is not going to help you.
What I do appreciate, by the way, is because when I first saw the movie, I was like, oh, easy for you to say you killed your parents' killer, but that's the whole point. It didn't help, because at first I misinterpreted it as a general moral message. Oh, you don't want to kill people, but like, you fucking did it. But no, he's still Batman, isn't he?
yeah, exactly. So he's like, this doesn't help. If you want to do good, that is one thing, but like exacting revenge is not the method. So
if you also want to beat up people with crippling mental problems, because Two-Face, boy does he have that. Riddler,
yeah, I was gonna say
that neurosis.
I really recommend people, if you want to read a good Two-Face story, because there are quite a few of them, by the way. But Long Halloween is like the major one. But if you also want to read Arkham Asylum, Grant Morrison's Arkham Asylum, it is really, really good. In it, they have Two-Face. They're trying to rehabilitate Two-Face by giving him more choices, because like his thing is that he obsesses over the number two and binary decisions, and he can't make a decision without flipping his coin, whether yay or nay on a two-headed liberty dollar. One that's has one that's all scratched out like half of his face, and one that isn't. So
yeah, which is interesting because like coins are already binary, but this is his coin.
Yeah, his coin has two heads.
Because Batman has used. Well, that I forgot about that. Actually, that's two heads anyway. But like, yeah, Batman has used this to his advantage. I didn't even realize.
Even
this.
in the movie, he does it.
That's the thing. I had only ever seen him do that in the movie, where he's like, I have 1,000,000 coins. Like, oh god, I can't keep track. But like, I didn't realize because I didn't watch much of the animated series. But he did it then too. And
yeah,
in the movie,
an old trick from the comics.
Yeah, it makes sense. But in the movie, that led to Two-Face falling to his death because it's like, which coin do I catch? Because it's in the heat of the moment, and there's a bottomless pit then, so you have to catch it in the air, or else the coin is probably gone. In the cartoon, he just spills a box of coins on the floor, and Two-Face is like, oh, come on. Like, it's one of these coins, and he just flips out. He just, like, even though he has a gun and Batman's standing right there, Two-Face just completely forgets about Batman and just flips out because he can't find his coin. He just, like, throws, like, a tantrum while Batman just watches.
So in Arkham Asylum, what the psychiatrists do, actually ends up being cruel to Two-Face in that they take away his coin, but they give him a die to roll, to supposedly give him more choices, and then
see
eventually
if they can bring it up to infinite choices, which people have at any given time.
Well, eventually they give him a tarot deck, which is even
Why the fuck
more complicated.
Like, well, a die I understand, but tarot is where it starts getting all into mysticism and shit. Like, I wouldn't give that to a crazy villain.
Well, it's also like a full deck of cards, so like
just give him a fucking full deck of cards.
Well, here's the thing. Well, the tarot deck is more, it shows up better as a plot device.
No, I know, but then you get, I mean, it's a Batman show. Then you're like, oh, I represent death, even though that's not what death actually represents if you know tarot. But like, all that shit, you'll have a tarot themed villain. It's like low hanging fruit.
Yeah, but well, anyway, the problem with all of this is that they are essentially torturing him, because he can't even make simple decisions once they give him the tarot deck. Like his life is so complicated based off of the card deck that he can't even go to the bathroom without consulting the deck.
Well, yeah, there is beauty in simplicity, and when you have 52 plus cards, and you're like, well, now I gotta sort through this and that, like, yeah, that's... die I can understand, but skipping, like, from 2 to 6, I understand it, but skipping to 52, Jesus Christ.
They made him worse.
That's clearly worse. The die I understand, but you're supposed to, like, work your way up to a deck of cards. You don't just jump from a die to a fucking deck of cards.
And so like in it, like Two-Face is considered to be like one of the sympathetic characters in that tale.
Yeah.
Because like he's not pursuing Batman at all. He just wants to be left alone. Yeah. And Batman gives him back his coin as an act of mercy. And Two-Face actually like recognizes it as a nice thing. Like he to the point where
he can recognize things. It's just his decision making.
Well, what I'm getting at is at the end of the tale. I mean, spoiler alert for something that came out in the fucking 80s. At the end of it, Two-Face shoots one of the bad guys and lets Batman get out of Arkham. He's like stuck in Arkham, and they're trying to kill him. And he didn't flip his coin at all in order to make that decision. He just did it.
That's
so
clever.
The implication is that Two-Face just did it to save Batman. Not because his coin told him to do it. He did it because he wanted to. So
that's pretty clever.
Yeah, it was a really good.
And that itself is like arguably like apparently he doesn't need the coin to make every decision. He just really prefers it.
Well, it's more like this was such a relief for him, like getting his coin back. That
no. I mean, I get it. It's a very significant decision, but he was able to make it on his own.
Yeah. But Two-Face is generally also one of the more like dastardly villains because he's also one of the smartest villains that Batman has. Batman has a lot of really smart villains. He also is really good at hand-to-hand combat, and he's an excellent marksman with a pistol. So he is a really dangerous villain, except for his crippling habits. But in the movie, he's just a fucking goofball.
Well, like I said, in the movie, he's the Riddler. He's 60s Riddler without riddles. He's like, woo, like all that. It's like he has a thing for two. It doesn't really. Well, the movie does show it as a handicap a couple times. Okay, it's not just a theme. It does show it as a handicap. I also like how he has. This is one thing I thought was kind of amusing. The Riddler doesn't do this, but Two-Face does. Going back to 60s Batman, is the themed henchmen. In this case, the henchwomen. He's got Virtue and Vice, the woman wearing all white, the woman wearing all black, and being all pretty and cutesy versus like sinful because Two-Face. I just get a kick out of stuff like that.
Well, the nice one is Drew Barrymore, kind of a cameo.
Oh, geez, I didn't even realize that.
Which is kind of funny, but we're also not talking about Batman's love interest in this because obviously we talked about Vicky Vale in the first one, and then we had Catwoman,
in the second one,
Selena Kyle. So Nicole Kidman plays a completely original character.
Therapist?
Yeah, called Chase Meridian.
It's like a Bond girl name.
Yeah, exactly. At least it's not Christmas Jones. Oh my god. But
yeah, at least it's not Pussy Galore.
Christmas comes twice this year.
Good one.
Fuck. When I was in the theater,
especially because she makes a comment in the very beginning of the movie. Don't make any Christmas jokes. I've heard them all. Or no, don't make any jokes. I've heard them all. And he plays it off. I don't know any doctor jokes. Like but then he makes a Christmas joke at the end of the fucking movie.
When I was in the theater, oh my god, everybody was like, "Oh god." But and I was like 15 at the time, so I didn't completely get the joke.
I might get that joke, yeah.
But now I'm like, oh my god. Now I'm groaning. But anyway, so you have a completely new love interest. She doesn't do much. She's just like a psychiatrist who gets him to look at a Rorschach test.
He's wacko. Is that a technical term?
I mean, this is also the origin of, in terms of design, there's some interesting things going on here. We also have the costumes are very much accentuate the male physique, which is kind of a first.
The nipples on the batsuit.
Yeah, exactly. But it's like the Greek god thing, like that I was talking about in Reactive. It's like the Greek form, kind of thing going on. And so to kind of go along with the campiness of everything, but yeah, this is also where the movies get extremely toyetic.
Which by the way,
even more than before.
Speaking of the word toyetic, have you heard any of Joel Schumacher's commentary on the movies? I think it was Batman and Robin.
I didn't listen to this one specifically, but I believe whatever you're about to say.
It feels bad. Because a lot of the commentary is basically like, yeah, I'm aware that people were bothered by this. Sorry about that. Here's my excuse for it. Like, I was just trying to entertain. Like, that's a lot of the commentary. But there's a part he mentions where maybe it's not pushed quite as hard in Forever, but it definitely is in Batman and Robin, where he says that he was specifically told by, I forgot who, people in the industry, to make things more toyetic, which was a word that he had never heard before at the time.
Yeah.
So it's like, what do you want me to do now? So like, yeah, if things look like they were commercialized, she's like, yes, they were. Yes, I did it. Yes, I was told to. This wasn't necessarily my vision. I know it's weird. Sorry, it's my movie. Like he's just such a sympathetic director.
Yeah. You feel bad for him, because like he's a talented director. I mean,
Yeah, he made fucking Lost Boys, and
yeah.
Didn't he do Falling Down as well?
Yeah, and he's produced a whole bunch of shit too. So I mean, like he knows what he's doing.
Yeah, he does.
So like, but he's stuck in the situation where like
studio mandates
the whole thing's run by Suits.
Yeah, studio mandates, so it's not even 100% his fault. Also, the audience is partly the problem because they wanted a Tim Burton sequel and they did not get one. It's like the entire Zelda series. Why isn't it like the previous one? And then 10 years later, they're like, oh, actually, it was better than I thought.
Yeah.
Batman and Robin, I can't really defend terribly much. Like, I like it more than other people, but like, but Forever, I will straight up defend.
Forever is enjoyable. And in fact, when it came out, I didn't even recognize it as campy. Like at the time, I just kind of liked it.
Two-Face is a bit over the top, and I knew Jim Carrey was Jim Carrey, but yeah, I wasn't like, oh, clearly this is an homage to a 50 or 30-year-old. Now it's 30-year-old series.
People forget when this came out. A lot of the older stuff like that, you either had to experience it and remember it, or just really seek it out really hard, because media wasn't freely available as it is right now.
YouTube did not exist. Batman reruns, maybe you would see one every so often, but like there was no way you could just get it unless you go to a bootlegger or something.
Exactly. It's not like there were sets of Batman stuff that were easy to obtain. Like even sets like that, like on VHS, were obscenely expensive.
Because bootleggers make money doing movies. This is an entire like 5-season series on TV that somebody had to tape off of their VHS player back in the day.
Yeah,
because there was no DVDs.
You really would need to track it down, and so like you would only know like certain tropes, like holy rusted metal. Batman.
Bam.
Yeah, exactly,
holy noun. Yeah, holy rusted metal. That was. That I forgot I don't even know if I recognize that as a 60s joke. I mean, Robin explained the joke. Oh, it's full of holes. It's holy, like holy rust. Like I thought it was just an exclamation. I don't even know if I knew that it was Burt Ward's thing.
Yeah. So anyway, the movie is very campy but also very stylish. So at the time you're like, it's just a Jim Carrey movie. This is what they look like. That's kind of like.
Oh, I also, by the way, I like that, again, Edward Nygma was screwed over by his employer, but in this case, the employer happened to be Bruce Wayne himself.
Yeah.
That was one thing I don't think they really went back to enough. Like, the Riddler discovered Batman's identity. It's like, aha, I know who he is. He's Bruce Wayne. But I don't think they ever really did a thing of, like, wait, you were my boss who fired me? What the fuck? Like, they never really capitalized on that.
Yeah, and they have this weird, like, mind control plot.
Called The Box, which that's a loose descriptor if I've ever heard one.
Yeah, where people would put this thing on their TVs and would basically turn them into zombies. Which is, like,
they got to see
very
heavy-handed commentary.
Yeah, very heavy-handed.
But it also somehow drained, like, information from their heads, and Riddler got smarter progressively.
Yep.
I don't know. I mean, like, whatever, it's a stupid 60s plot, like, you could just do that, but it was also a movie that was somewhat trying to be taken seriously. Like, it was campy, but, like, it was also dark, like, visually. Yeah.
So, as much as you could make fun of this era, this was really popular. Like, this also had a really good soundtrack at the time. Well, I'm not even talking about that. I'm "Kiss from a Rose" was a gigantic song, and from Seal, it was probably his biggest hit. And there's also a really big hit from U2, "Hold Me, Thrill Me, Kiss Me, Kill Me." And so, yeah, there were all kinds of really, like, the Flaming Lips was on there, Brandy, Method Man. Jeez, there's, like, all kinds of, like...
Yeah, there's a A veritable cavalcade.
Yeah, so the soundtrack was a big deal, and this is back when people bought soundtrack CDs.
Yes.
That's not really a thing anymore. But
unless you're in Japan,
because
that is still going strong over there.
Even nowadays, like, unless you come up with original music for the movie, like, why would you buy a soundtrack?
Well, that's the whole thing. Yeah. Oh, the song already exists. I've YouTubed it for years. Yeah.
Exactly. You could just buy the ones you want.
By the way, one quote I rather enjoyed from the movie, like, it still just kind of tickles me to this day. You know when he sees the Riddler in his final form, where he's on the throne and everything, and he's got that white, sparkly suit. I love that part where he goes, "Do you like the suit? It keeps me safe when I'm jogging at night." Like, it's just kind of funny to me.
It's very Jim Carrey from the era.
Yeah.
It's very Ace Ventura or whatever. So, but I can't really say much else more about this other than, like, maybe the video game, which is really god fucking awful. Have you ever played the Batman Forever game on the Genesis or Super Nintendo?
Oh, I thought you meant... I thought you were going to talk about the Saturn beat 'em up, which is the greatest game ever made.
Oh, well, is that one Batman and Robin or Batman Forever? I always get it confused. I think that one's Batman and Robin, isn't it?
I thought it was Forever, because I don't think anybody would make a Batman and Robin video game. I could be wrong.
No, they made a Batman and Robin video game, but...
Oh, wait, no. Yeah. Oh, no, I was going to say you play as Robin, but Robin's in both movies. But yeah. I thought it was Forever.
Okay, Batman Forever, the arcade game. Yeah,
there you go.
Is the Saturn one.
Yes.
Okay, so there are two notable Batman Forever video games. One of them is the Genesis and Super Nintendo one, which... so, like, you're like, oh, how can you mess up, like, a Batman beat 'em up? Because we've talked about Batman beat 'em ups in the past, and they work out well as a beat 'em up, right? And in fact, most of the Batman games up until this point, we have said, have been really pretty fun, right? Like, all the games in this discussion we've talked about.
Yeah, I mean, there are some clunkers. Was this the one... I think I might have remembered, like, my cousins playing this. This is where you had, like, the grapple to go up and down in, like, Arkham Asylum and stuff like that.
Yeah, so...
Because I remember when you start the game, you hear Tommy Lee Jones, like, "So the Bat wants to play? We'll play!" And I thought that was cool at the time, but that game was clunky as shit.
So it looks like it has digitized sprites. It's one of those games. It's an Acclaim game from that era, so you know it's bad. But it has digitized sprites, so it looks like Pit Fighter or Mortal Kombat or whatever. Clearly made by, like, Midway, and their kind of stuff. So you have low rent actors as every single fucking enemy. And there are, like, so many of the same fucking enemy over and over and over again because of that. It's even worse than a regular brawler because they actually had to pay somebody to take all these pictures of them and all these animations. So you have, like, all these prisoners of Arkham, and the biggest problem, other than it being super repetitive, which is a problem that all brawlers really have in general, but the controls are really, really messed up.
I remember to do simple things, you have to press button combinations that you would never think of on your own.
Yeah, I think one of them involves the start button on the Genesis. Like, the start button is usually used just for pausing a fucking game. So, like, how would you ever even think to do that? So, at one point in the game when I'm supposed to use my grappling hook to move to another level, I just didn't know how to fucking do it.
Yeah, that was it, because you went up and down, like, the floors, and, like, the kind of point where you would walk, like, 2 rooms. I beat up my first couple enemies. Okay, I get what the game is. And then you're just stuck. Like, what is this?
It's just stuck. So, like, unless you had the instruction manual, and a lot of times, people rented games back then, and, subsequently, when checking out ROM files and stuff like that, like, everybody ran into this problem. So you had to, like, freaking look up how to a really complicated button combination in order to do an essential move, which is really, really stupid.
And, like, a basic move, too, which is very annoying.
One that's required to move past the beginning of the game. That's as much as I played that game, and then I didn't want to go back to it anyway, so that was that. But then they made an arcade game, which Oh boy. This is
Yeah, that's a more fun beat 'em up where you have like bomb attacks, like it's a shooter. You just press the clear screen button and you're like, oh, and like the bat symbol comes up and just blows everything up.
so imagine a game like Narc. Narc is like very also it also is digitized and has like a lot of like craziness going on in
It has fun with itself.
Yeah. So this game is just like there's so much shit going on in the screen.
Well, I remember one thing specifically that was called out years ago in Narc. When you're in the final level, it's like Mr. X's mansion, right? It's the final boss's giant mansion. He has like it's like a tease of who the boss is going to be. There's a big portrait on the wall of the boss's face, and it's labeled me. Like, that's amazing.
So like there's a certain sense of humor that all the Midway games had from that era, for sure, and this game falls into that. So it Batman Forever, the arcade game, is hilarious. There's just shit flying all over the screen all the time. You like just all kinds of nonsense. The bad guys are all really dumb and digitized, and for some reason Robin has a spirit bomb attack, just like Vegeta or Goku would.
Yeah, just fuck it.
Goku.
Fuck it. It's fun.
Like for some reason,
Shut
like
up.
they don't
It's
even
fun.
explain it. Yeah, like it is just it moves very quickly,
Yes.
so it's very kinetic. So it is one of the best Kusoge out there, like shit games that you play on purpose, because it is just bananas and it's fun. It's up there with Battle Monsters for me.
Battle Monsters is up there.
Yeah, Battle Monsters, Mr. Bones, and and Batman Forever for the Saturn, all really good bullshit right here. I definitely recommend it.
Well, Mr. Bones is good for the cutscenes. That game is just not fun.
Well, there you go. But yeah, I just think it's just a lot of the Batman Forever is one of those hidden gems, as it were.
Yeah.
It's like play it with two people in a party. It's a lot of fun because people would be like, "What the fuck are you playing? Jesus Christ! There's Batman here, but I don't understand." And that's pretty much all I have to say about Batman Forever. I don't know about you, Lotus. I think we pretty much covered it.
Well, two things I want to shout out. One
Okay.
of them, when when Two-Face and the Riddler infiltrate Bruce Wayne's house, where they're dressed up as little trick-or-treaters, and they ring the doorbell and they say "Twick or tweet." That's amazing. But
and Alfred's like, "Okay, I'll let you in."
Yeah, what is this? Okay. That's so good. But the other thing I want to shout out, a deliberate homage to episode 1 of the Batman 60s series, when the Riddler gets into the Batcave and just throws 100 fucking bombs around and blows up the Batmobile. That was episode 1 of the 60s series.
Wow.
Like, he didn't go into the Batcave, but like his plot was very, very stupid. Like in an intentional way, where I think I've mentioned this before. He was hiding out in a go-go bar. That was how he would split Batman and Robin up, because Robin's too young to go in. so Batman goes in and Robin's like, "Yeah, I'll scout around elsewhere." And the Riddler sneaks outside and gets to like,
and he steals the Batmobile.
Well, yeah, it was like the parking lot where he just throws a bunch of bombs and wrecks the Batmobile. And like, even though the 60s series was super campy, like, oh, I didn't think that would happen, let alone in the first episode. Damn, like Riddler's goofy as shit, but he's an actual threat.
That's awesome. Well,
there you go, homage.
Yeah. I think we could safely move on and do some fan stuff here.
Sure. So comments. School Filmer says this is in regard to the Nintendo Switch online stuff. It's £35. And he says, "Now I realize £35 is almost $50. So it's about the same as the American. Have I ever mentioned I suck at math and currency conversions? Norwegian price is 400 kroner, 47.85 at the time, for 12 months and expansion pass. Given that there's a discount for how many days you have left of the subscription, I may snag it later." Living Corpse has a few things to say. This is regarding the Alec Baldwin catastrophe for Rust. Apparently, part of that was caused by the armorer being utterly incompetent and
Yeah.
has shown to be before, so God only knows why they fucking hired her. But
It's because of nepotism. They
well,
are the
nepotism is
daughter.
why she has a job, not why they fucking picked her out. That's inane.
Yeah.
So Living Corpse says, you are correct. Blanks still cause an explosion in a gun, so the pressure can still kill you. I heard there was a movie floating around where they told the actor not to put the gun to his head for a suicide scene, and he did it anyway, probably because he forgot, and the blank killed him.
Yeah, I heard about that as well.
But on lighter notes, I applaud GoldenEye having General Oromov's gun not touching 006's head when they fake his death, so that's not a plot hole. And as a teenager, I wondered how the hell Noel's guns work in BlazBlue. Oh, yeah. Since they only seem to hurt when touching an opponent and not long distance. Yeah, it's like a melee gun. It's very weird. My headcanon is she's using blanks and punching with blank shots. I know I'm putting too much thought into this.
No, I love stuff like that. Yeah.
And then Living Corpse also says, regarding that one thug who knows not to fight Batman in the animated series, I believe the thug who saw him had another thug in the hallway ask him if anything was there, and his response was nothing. I think he just said nope. But he said he's not paid enough to have his bones broken. Well, no shit. Even if he were we going to pick a fight with Batman, really? And then one more. Congratulations, Mr. and Mrs. The Bold.
Thank you.
And Sabrina Hengel says, wow, yeah, it's crazy that your podcast has been around for 5 years. Also, congrats, Vice.
Thank you so much.
And then Vakafon says, another thing I want to mention about the older style of graphics games, they allow for much jerkier movement without it looking too weird, as it seems to be tolerable in that sort of space. That's why I imagine a lot of horror games look better in this style, since you can have the creepy, fast, janky movements without it seeming like a funny Gary's Mod video. Yeah, actually, in Resident Evil 1, do you remember... did you ever play, like, OG Resident Evil?
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm.
This is a specific thing to remember, but remember when you're in, like, the basement's, like, kitchen area? That's the one where, like, the goofy music plays if you have the director's cut.
I don't remember.
When you go back into that... Or maybe it was not, but it was the kitchen area. But when you go in there, that's the area where, when you leave, one of those little, like, CG scenes plays of a door opening, and then a zombie comes in. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Oh, it's been so long.
Well, it's a regular zombie.
Yeah.
But it's, like, and it moves and acts the same. But its animation is just sped up. So it's not running at you, it's shuffling, but it's clearing the room faster, and you're like, like, it's just...
Wow.
Throws you off. It makes me think of that. The same thing happened in Attack on Titan, the PS4 game, and I guess also Switch, the first one, not the second one, because the Beast Titan was like a super late game enemy, because they had only just introduced him in the show, so they don't really know much about him. He's really big, but some of the challenge levels feature him where same thing, his animations are the same, but the speed has been increased, so he's doing little baby steps, but he's just gaining on you, and you're like, like, it's really off-putting to see that. And the only other thing I could think of is this isn't jerky because of polygons, but it has a similar effect. It's Bloodborne. There are certain enemies that are only available in the Chalice dungeons that they do that, like, modern horror movie kind of like blah, blah, blah. Like, do you remember in the first, well, not the TV movie, but the first new It movie, remember where the kid finds him in the basement, like the flooded basement, and then he chases him like blah, 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 and he's like all weird jerky movement? There's an enemy in Bloodborne that just moves like that, and it's like when you first see him, it is super off-putting, because this is like, you've never seen whatever his regular movement would look like. His movement is always
it's kind
awkward,
of like an
sped up movement.
Valley kind of thing.
Yeah, it's just like, oh, fuck. Like, yeah, like the movement is just, it's not like the visuals of the character are wrong, but like the movement is wrong. It's off-putting.
Wow.
Mm-hmm. So, this brings us to our question. Very simple one. From School Filmer, what's the spiciest food you've eaten? Straight up food, I have a difficult time answering that. Probably some pasta. It was called something cute, like Pastel Diablo or something. It was like, but I asked them to go light on the spice, because when it's called Diablo, I don't want to die when I eat it. But like, maybe that. But if you want to split hairs, a couple of friends of mine in high school put like a single drop of capsaicin on like something I was eating. And so that's not like the food, that's a drop of capsaicin itself, but I felt that for quite some time.
Wow. So I like spicy food quite a bit. Like and have liked it since I was a little kid. But at back in the day, probably like the hottest hot sauce I had ever had was this stuff called Dave's Insanity sauce. And that was like back in the day. And we kind of like just threw it out because like who would ever want this? Like I like spice, but like not at the expense of like the food.
Well, yeah, it's
You know
like
what I
when
mean?
you go for darker and darker chocolate, it tastes better and better
Until it
it just
doesn't.
becomes bitter. Yeah,
Yeah,
like when you hit
exactly.
like 90%, you're like, what am I doing?
Yeah, exactly. You're
Actually, when
just
we were
eating
at your
dirt.
wedding, Perry had told me he had once tried 100%, which doesn't even exist like as candy bars. It was like I think it was like cooking chocolate or whatever.
Yeah.
But he's like, I just want to say that I've tried it, and surprised it wasn't fun. But now he can check that off his list.
I mean, at that point, it's like eating like something like cinnamon by itself. It's just like,
Well, yeah, it's just
ugh.
an ingredient. That's not like what you're
Yeah.
supposed to be eating.
Yeah, exactly. Like who eats like cinnamons? They make a challenge over eating like the cinnamon. Like
Yeah.
you just shouldn't be doing it because like your body's not equipped.
Well,
Like
well,
and,
it's the
it
same
doesn't
thing even
taste
with spicy
good.
foods, like those peppers. Like those are supposed to be like. There's a reason those peppers are so bright. It's like poison dart frogs. Like the spice is supposed to ward off predators. Like you don't eat that. And now we've made it a challenge.
Well, actually, it's a little bit more complicated than that. So what it's supposed to do is um it's supposed to limit them being consumed by mammals. So mammals have receptors for that stuff.
Okay, okay.
But those plants actually want to be eaten by birds because it spreads
Oh, it spreads
their
them around like pollen,
their
like bees or
digestive system
pollen.
does not crush the
Oh, that's
seeds.
bizarre.
The birds actually don't have a sense of spiciness
Okay,
like we do. They don't have the receptors for it.
curious.
Believe it or not, the plants want to be eaten by birds and not by
Yeah,
mammals.
I guess that's very similar to flowers and pollination, where the bees aren't there to spread the seeds around, but like it happens.
Yeah. Well, I think they just evolved to
Yeah, this codependency.
that dependency. But
That's so weird.
yeah, it's pretty neat when you think about it. But yeah, I from there I don't like hot sauces that are like gimmick sauces, like this one will kill you, like that kind of
Yeah,
stuff.
this is
like
rated
on
a
there.
million billion on the Scoville scale.
Well, no, like it like has skulls on the fucking
Yeah, yeah,
label.
yeah, yeah.
I'm all about like it just tasting good.
Yeah.
So like there's been a more recent trend with Hot Ones. I don't know if you are aware of what Hot Ones is or
Nah.
but it's an insanely popular YouTube show where an interviewer named Chris Evans will interview a popular person from popular culture and will have a lineup of hot sauces and they will eat a wing while they're answering questions and it gets increasingly harder for them to pay attention to the question.
Oh,
Because,
I've seen something almost
yeah.
identical to that, where it was a hot pepper challenge where they would
Yeah.
eat like one pepper or something, and then just attempt to answer some question that they would be like that they would know the answer to and be
Yeah.
able to talk about. Like, what do you like about this thing in your hobby? And they could just talk about that for like 30 seconds.
It's the same concept because they're talking about their own lives and like
You know what
their
my
own
favorite one of
stuff.
those was, by the way? There was some guy who had a very high spice tolerance, and he talks without looking like he's really being bothered. And then when the 30 seconds are up, the guy's like, "Time's up," and he reaches for the glass of milk, and before he touches, he's like, "Yeah, I'll just finish," and he just finishes talking and then takes a drink. Like, holy shit, it was amazing.
So long story short, they have made their own hot sauces to go along with this. Not only do they use like third party ones, but they make their own. And some of the ones that they make are just taste good. They're really good. I ordered a bunch of them, and I got their famous, also hottest one just because.
Yeah.
It's called the Last Dab, and it tastes actually pretty good, but it's also obscenely hot. But
Sure.
it is not as hot as you think it would be. If that makes a sense. If that makes sense.
As hot as it gets for, like, people who are not specialists in the field.
Well, a lot of the other ones use, like, extracts.
Okay.
So those extracts get very clinical. Yeah, exactly. They get very clinical, and they're basically just used for maces and those those gimmick sauces. So, like, I think without using an extract, this is as hot as it gets because they just use fucking hot peppers. And it tastes really, really good. I really like it. It's a high quality sauce, but it's probably the hottest thing I've had, but it also didn't kill me either. But I'm also not seeking out the things that, like, could. Like there's one that's called Da Bomb that everybody hates. That one's on the show. And it's the one that wrecks everybody before the end of it. And I don't want to seek it out because it doesn't taste good. Apparently, it just tastes like garbage because they use this extract, and that extract doesn't have any. It probably has a chemically taste to it. You know what I mean? So, in long story short, I've had hot ones, and I also think that there's other different types of spiciness too. I mean, like I've had some really, really hot Indian food that just, like, wrecked me. And that's not the same kind of spicy as, like, hot pepper spices,
Well, yeah, that's not necessarily designed to challenge you. It's food that is spicy.
Yeah. So I really enjoy other stuff like that. Like I really love kimchi. I like Korean spicy food quite a bit.
I tend to like the taste, but I am a serious lightweight when it comes to spice, the heat.
Yeah. Let's mix it up and go with the plain chips.
For variety's sake.
But I do like it. I put Tabasco sauce on everything, by the way. That I don't think is even spicy to me. It's just flavor.
Sure.
And that's about it. We'll wrap things up here for the week. That is the show, and we want to thank all of our fans who contributed questions and comments. You guys put out a lot this week. Thank you so much.
Yeah, we in fact we have 2 more questions too. So thank you very much.
Yeah. But
thank you, School Filmer, for this week, and we will thank the others for the next weeks.
Don't forget to keep coming up with more questions as time goes on. Please keep us supplied with awesome topics by submitting questions of your own via the YouTube and Soundcloud pages. While there, please give us thumbs ups, likes, and 5-star ratings on iTunes. It helps promote and spread awareness of the show, and any bit of encouragement helps keep the show going. You can also catch us on Tuesdays for our sister podcast, Corrective Consciousness, the in-depth look at this week in our lives. Finally, you can friend me on pretty much anything. Just give me a heads up.
And you could follow me on my YouTube channel, Lotus Prince. You can hit me up on Twitter at Lotus Prince. And finally, if you are interested in seeing my videos early, getting in on exclusive live streams, I'm currently doing Armored Core Master of Arena for PS1.
There you go.
Selecting upcoming games for me to Let's Play, or getting in conversations with me and other patrons on Discord, then perhaps consider swinging by my Patreon account, which can be found at patreon.com/LotusPrince.
Wonderful. That's just prime. We'll catch everyone on Tuesday then.
Until next time, everyone.
Bye-bye.